So I have provided you all with a proficiency scale that matches your task. This is going to help us sort your student work. So I'm going to go over the standard, because the first thing you want to do is say, what do I want my students to know? In order to sort them, you got to know what you want your students to know. So our standard that we were working on is 3.3. It says solve word situations using multiplication and division within 100, using equal groups, arrays, and measurement quantities. Represent this situation using models, drawings, and equations with a symbol for the unknown number. So our word problem was Miss Raphael has 32 chairs in her classroom. She wants to put an equal number of chairs around each of 8 tables. How many chairs are around each table? So with that being said, what are we wanting the students to know? What are we hoping that they grab out of this? Okay, so we want them to know they have 32 chairs, right?
Yeah.
And how many tables?
8.
8. So they have these 8 tables, and they're wanting to distribute the 32 chairs around the 8 tables. So what are we wanting to do?
That would be division.
We're hoping that they can write out division, right? But we want to see the models, we want to see the drawings and the equations being brought out as well. And for the unknown number, a symbol like a question mark, or even maybe a letter or a box that represents the unknown.
I did it.
Okay.
I did this at my training the other day.
Alright, so we're going to look at the proficiency scale, and we're going to look at a rubric that I provided you. Do you have this, Miss? Do you have the rubric?
Yes, rubric.
I know it's a lot of papers.
That's okay. I was trying to find
The more we do this, the better we'll get it, knowing what paper is what. So we have a 1, 2, 3, and 4, right? And it kind of explains that this is generic. Later on this year, we'll have a rubric that is really centered to your task, but we're just getting the groove of it right now, so we're going with a generic rubric, okay? So what I like to do is I like to take my student work and I do 2 stacks. I got it, and I don't have it, okay? And then from there, I stack it more. So if you'll take your student work and do does have it, doesn't have it. Miss Comfort.
Seriously, no, I've already looked.
Oh,
Yeah,
no
me
one
too.
got it. Okay.
I am
got it, I
shocked
got it.
because we are breaking apart some big numbers.
That's okay.
I had all of them trying to multiply, every one of them,
It's okay.
when we worked similar problems.
Okay, so you have it.
But dang, they were pretty good at the big.
So, Miss Comfort.
Yes, 32 times 8.
Okay, so what we want to look at, I would like to start with my does have it, but she doesn't have any does have it. So we'll have to look. Right here on the unsatisfactory, it says the task is attempted and some mathematical efforts are made, but there may be fragments of accomplishment but little to no success. But look over here, you know that you have nobody. So it's just going to be excellent. So you're going to be focused on these 2 probably, okay? So marginal would be part of the task is accomplished, which might be your case. But there's a lack of evidence of understanding or evidence of non-understanding. Direct input or further teaching is required. All right, so let's look. Ms. Forbes, so you do have any does have it?
These are my
These
does have it.
Okay. So let's see what they did. 32.
I put him as a 4.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
They just didn't
He divided it. He showed the
models,
models. He
he
showed the equation.
I think this is a question mark for him.
Yep, and oh,
They're trying
definitely.
to
I would
hit
do.
the 4.
I would do
They're
excellent.
really
Very
trying
good.
to hit
Yeah.
the 4.
What did you do for Bryson? Was this a?
Yeah, I was thinking of 1 or 2.
4 8.
Well,
He used multiplication
to
to
find
help
it
him.
out.
She wrote it
But
on this
for
side.
that-
I don't know if
She's
he really know, like.
well,
It's just
using
kinda-
multiplication and division within 100.
Mhm.
Now, there's
So-
no drawings or anything, but that
Mhm.
relationship between those 2,
It's being
she
shown.
understands
Three,
that
she
you
got
can use
24.
multiplication.
3 8 is
Mhm.
24.
So what are you
Mhm.
thinking? How would you label him?
So
Or her?
exciting.
Him?
Well, if I'm just looking at division, that
So
would be a
exciting.
2, but I'm thinking a 3.
We'll get.
What do you
And then
think?
she tried to count. Let's get counting.
Can
'Cause
you
I don't
use
know if he knows-
multiplication in order to divide.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so that would be, would it be excellent then?
Yeah.
I wouldn't say. Would you say
Yeah, I
excellent?
know. See,
Well,
I
there's
wouldn't say
no, there's no
excellent.
equation for the unknown.
and there's no model.
There's no
But
model.
I don't
There's a
get
number
when they're
sentence.
not-
I
Every
tell
time
them
we've
that all the
broken or
time.
done anything.
So what
we
does
count it.
what is the difference between proficient and marginal
I don't
read?
know why we did it.
And
Could work to full accomplishment.
there's lack of evidence of understanding. To me, there's lack of evidence that he knows there's 32 total, which I don't know because that is total, but that it's equal groups of, you know.
Well, this is
So-
8 groups of 4.
Yeah, so there's
So
just
what
no
is
model.
what does
Table.
proficient say? Could be errors
Oh,
or
minors of the
She's
teacher.
trying to do 8.
And I am
around the
confident
8
that
tables.
he
She's trying to get
understands.
64.
So you think proficient?
Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah.
I'll put him there because I think that he understands. I just need him to explain a
And we
little
can
further.
plan
Now,
next
what do you-
steps.
Oh, I like this.
based
That's a
on-
good
He
model.
needs to just
And 3
So
of
1,
mine
2,
are
3,
out.
Explain it a
4,
little
5,
further
6,
for
7,
me.
8. 8 tables, get 4 round.
Okay, this one that you have.
4 chairs for each table. What did you put, Ryan?
There is a.
I'm not 100% certain because they both get the right answer, but there's no equation. And we see they're at.
So maybe proficient, but you would take their models, and the
So
next
this is
step might be
probably
going
like
from a
him,
model
he's
to an
proficient.
equation showing that unknown.
Yeah, they can do that now.
So if I
But
think
from
Boston is-
this
Yeah.
evidence only, that's what I would say. I wouldn't put it in excellent, I would put it in proficient. Do you agree with that?
Same
Just
thing
because
with
they have the model, I mean, the model's perfect, I love that model.
Okay.
32 divided by 8,
Cause she's
did the
getting
same
four.
thing as she
So we need
did.
to look at the math on that one.
I just don't, let's see.
Understood it well enough to.
Okay, skip counted to do the
But see, it
division.
almost looks like.
Related
She
multiplication
thinks she's
backwards.
trying to draw chairs.
Mhm.
Let's say she's
And
excellent.
it almost looked like there's.
They're
Because
late,
they-
I mean,
I would
labels.
just make sure that this person knows that division is never like this. Okay, that's an easy fix.
Six,
hopefully.
7, 8.
So
So
good.
those are
And then
Should
chairs
you put on-
that
over
kind
here
of
too,
line
trying to
up
make
a
sure
bit,
she's
'cause the
right.
rooms
Write
that
these names in
No,
the
I
right.
take it.
Because I was-
Chairs is
because I was-
different than
That's
okay.
big tables
Not
and
100%
four chairs.
This is
You're
more.
good.
That's what bothers me on this one.
Mhm.
Because I use that example.
I would put Adrian on
Like,
that
I'll
end.
say, hey, if we're gonna have
Proficient.
something at my church, I don't want 8
Hands
tables with
this
2
way,
chairs each. Everybody needs to get together. So I use that as an
Really?
example. So they know tables
I
and
would-
chairs. We use it all
Right.
the
Is
time.
that
Up
proficient?
4,
This would
so
probably be
he's got
proficient.
the
It's kind of.
model. So we need the
And you might
equation.
put side by side,
Yeah.
show Bryson,
Mhm.
like, with, what do you see
Di-
that's
different.
similar?
I
I
don't
don't know
know
why
why
she did that. I think maybe that was what she thought first, and then she went back to that, cause she put the answer was 4.
It makes me wonder if she was going to do repeated subtraction to do that division.
See,
That's a
there are
skill.
4 groups in
That's
each
a good-
table.
She might have, and she knows all her multiplication facts
Mhm.
already.
But she didn't
So-
show
She's
how
got-
she added them.
Okay, I would
guess.
put this as proficient.
Or like-
I would not put it as
How,
excellent.
I guess how
Unless-
she divided them.
What would you
1,
think?
2,
I
3,
think
4, 5,
proficient.
6,
That-
7,
yeah.
8,
Yeah.
9, 10, 11, like in
Mhm.
list.
And I would go and I would ask her, what were you
Well,
doing
I
here?
guess
Why
maybe
were you
probably
subtracting?
just
Where were you
right
headed
there's
with
that.
that?
But what is zero?
Because maybe she can point out that
Out there.
repeated subtraction can get you
Oh,
to division.
she was putting 4 people at each
Like that's
table.
connected. Even though that's not the,
Would be totally
I
unsatisfactory.
don't know.
but it's all
Yeah,
related.
if
We
they
can talk about how it all
That's true.
relates. All right, Ms. Comfort, what you got going on?
She really, I mean,
We're
she
trying to decide who goes.
Mhm.
struggled
Who goes
with
somewhere?
this, cause you
Yeah.
can see the 8 times 32,
None of
she
hers
wanted
got
to
the
multiply.
answer
Uh-huh.
first, but
Uh-huh. And
take a
see,
look
that's
at
why I
this
was
one.
thinking half,
I would
because there's
agree.
no number on
Yeah.
it.
The closest.
There's no equation.
Right,
we had.
so would that be marginal? Okay.
Cause there's definitely
8
understanding, she's
tables?
distributing
They did
those.
4
Mhm.
tables.
They did the
32
opposite.
chairs.
They did 4
Right.
tables.
There's
So
some-
she's got
there's
8
some
chairs for
Partial
4
accomplishment,
tables.
but not full.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So that would have gotten the right answer, but
it's not.
you could bring out the community property there for sure.
Right.
Oh, these are my didn't get
Ah,
it.
okay.
So
I would
just
put this
them
in.
Well, some of them now,
Marginal.
not all of them have.
And that may be the only mark.
Right.
The,
Are you
some
serious?
of them might be
Yeah.
marginal.
Let's look.
Yeah.
So what did you say? Her question was, now that we have finished these, do we go back and we show them to help them do their mistake, or what did you?
I wrote steps on the board of things that I wanted them to include, that I wanted them to label what they had drawn, and that I wanted an
Kinda like-
equation, and I wanted their variable underlined so we knew what they were solving for and what was the answer.
Kind of like a checklist for your students.
Yeah.
Good. And what was your question?
Do we have the conversation as they're turning it in, or go ahead and bring this, sort this? If we know it's a quick fix.
I would still go ahead and sort this, and then
Okay.
go backwards, right? And then go back with the.
My initial response would be ask
And if they
Yeah.
can quickly tell you, oh, I forgot my equation, but if it's taking them 5 minutes, 6
Yeah.
minutes
Okay.
to figure out the equation, then you
Okay.
know it's
This one
not,
was
they don't have
Okay.
it.
Now, this one should be able to,
Yeah.
Mhm.
No,
I actually thought about double checking it on the way down here. You know, like, hey, did you finish this? They'll say, forgot to write it down.
Yeah.
He'll do that.
yeah, now
But I didn't know what y'all want as far as when we bring stuff to discuss, if this helps us know there is X amount of kids that are forgetting to write the
The
equation
equation.
down.
Right. See,
Then
that's
we
what I
need
was
to
thinking.
address that.
Okay.
That's
So
what I was
how,
thinking.
how raw do you leave their stuff?
See, to me, it's raw. Like, I
Yes,
want it
you want
raw.
it really raw. Okay, that's
To
what
me.
that's what I
just-
need.
no,
I
that's
need to
good.
know. Leave it raw.
Okay, so now we need to talk about next steps. Look at your babies in unsatisfaction. What do you think we would need to do in order to move them up some? It says, okay,
So we're in the lowest of the low levels. So we
they
can
don't understand the problem. That's right.
Yeah.
She said they don't understand the problem, which is perfect. So how do we get them to understand the problem?
Use manipulatives.
Okay, so starting with that concrete, explicit instruction, right?
How, like, in this problem, how would we want them to manipulate their manipulatives?
Yeah, so like we say manipulatives, but like what manipulatives are we using? Because we can say that word, can't we? But what manipulatives and how are we going to use them?
Well, I would give them 32 things.
Okay.
And
Good.
I guess when you're saying raw, I think about that. Like I always say, I must have a number sentence, but there's not in the real world. Their questions aren't going to say you must have a
Give
number
them a
sentence.
number.
So when you
That's
said
so
that
true.
raw, I'm almost like you pull them over to the side and you give
That's
them
good.
each that and see if they can get it from there.
When I
Because
think of
then
this
once they have
problem,
something tangible,
I think of
they-
paper plates being my tables. Like y'all, this sounds
Yeah.
cheesy, but I'm serious. Like paper plates being my tables. There's 8 tables, so 8 paper plates, and then maybe just your cubes that you have. 32 of them. Now equally divide those out.
look
So
at
they-
this one.
If we, yeah, look at that. If we
Yes.
were, if we were to do that, what group would that be most beneficial for? Like acting it out.
I think definitely the ones,
The ones.
right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. So
Yeah,
I
I
would
think
say
it's
with
gonna help.
manipulatives, physically acting the problem out to help them understand the problem. So you would write that in the next steps, just like with the manipulatives acting out the problem.
The first activity that I always did with division when I was teaching math to 4th graders was we drew circles on our desk
Oh,
with our
yeah.
dry erase markers, and we used counters.
I mean,
and
we're
we'd do
doing
like
this
one for you, one for
every
you,
day.
one for you, one for you,
Yeah,
until we, divided our.
we're doing it
manipulatives out.
every day, but it's still not clicking that the reverse is true. You can
Yeah.
start with a huge number and give it out, and I use cards all the time. How many cards are in a deck? And they say 52. Okay, if you're gonna give everybody some cards, that's division. You're giving the same amount, and they all act like they're giving out cards. But when they see a math problem like this, it's still not clicking.
It's good
That's
you're
something.
relating it to real world concepts.
Or small
right?
groups. Like,
Yeah.
when we put them in
Because I
small
need
group, they're usually somewhat even. So they're divided
So
up,
I'm hoping that this will help.
But this section
So
we're
maybe-
on is hard. We're breaking apart numbers to help multiply. And so we're embedded in that right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think they kept trying to think they could break different things apart to get the answer instead of thinking
Yeah.
it's division, not multiplication. I don't know why.
And oftentimes when we're teaching, like we see this, like if you're like just in 2nd grade, they're teaching bar graphs right now. The student had the answer correct, but then modeled it with a bar graph because that's what they're learning.
Yeah.
And something to think about is this information is for you to plan your tier 1 instruction. This is what they're coming to you knowing. These are the strategies that they have. And we're just going to build off of that
Yeah.
moving forward.
This should help you because this is going to be what your next coming thing to teach, right? Y'all are teaching this coming up soon. Okay.
Yes,
So-
I'm like 2 days behind.
but it should be like meaningful. Like this is something you should be easily brought back to the class. Like I don't want it to be just something extra that we do. This should be really something to bring back to the room. Like I was kind of doing this last year, but I didn't have anybody to think off of, and it just helps when you put brains together.
So what about our babies who were proficient? Who got it?
I saw a lot of her proficients, and I can't remember. Well, we had one, but that was an array. Either done their arrays but didn't attach it to any like equations, and then a lot of hers did the models correctly, but again didn't attach it to an equation. So going from that representational to that abstract piece is what I think.
I'm constantly saying label, label, label. And
Me
I
too.
think
I was
that's
a
what they
stickler for
needed.
that.
Yes, like I love everything labeled.
And like she said, maybe that checklist, that success criteria checklist for each child will help them for sure in that proficient.
What if we did like do you want to do anchor charts? If you had like a co-created anchor chart where you worked through these problems, you went back, we discussed this problem, and then you attached student work to it, and of the progression of it. So we're here, and then we've built, now we have our equation, we have our model, it's labeled, we have our unknown, maybe, as a reminder, as something that they could reference, possibly.
I think they're probably wondering how we're going to create this. Is that what John is thinking?
Well, there's so
'Cause
much
I can help
created.
with
I
that.
think I'm just trying to think it, picture it.
Yeah,
I
because
think
it's
that's what-
different for every. I get what you're,
Mhm.
and I can help with that, right?
Mm-hmm,
I can
absolutely.
help make that checklist thing. All right, and what about your high babies? She had one. She had one. Miss Culver's like hi.
I told you.
So what about the excellent peeps? What? Okay, so like this one had the models. They had the equation. She's going to talk about them though with the correct way to write it. But still, in this problem, it says with a symbol for the unknown number. I don't think I saw that on any paper.
No.
Except this one.
It's a question mark.
That's a question mark.
Questionable question mark, but
So-
it's there.
That's how
You're
yours
definitely symbol. You need to understand how to do that. So how would you expand this person?
I would say give me the inverse operation also, like I could do that.
Making sure that he's connecting the multiplication and the
Mhm.
division.
I'm open to suggestions there though. But that's
I'm trying
definitely
to
what I
think
would
myself.
do.
Well, he has it. He
Mhm.
has
Yeah.
every single piece of.
He has the
Now-
model, the equation.
So let's look at his model is equal groups. What would the next like a
Array?
more sophisticated
Arrays.
model? We could push him there. We could also maybe provide him with an equation, and he would have to give us a word problem.
Mm.
You're
And
a
then
baby.
it's called a
You could connect the
translation
equation
task.
and talk
We have to
about
do
how
that sometimes in our
is
work,
a
so
circle.
come up with a different word problem that would
You
meet your
just-
grade.
You give them, say, 36 divided by
Starting out with
4.
32 for
And then
something
they would
about
have
starting
to
with
give
30.
us a word problem that would
If we
go
turned it
along
around
with
and
that
put
equation.
And
Then
when
they
you're
would have
pulling
to
tables,
draw us
how
a
many
model
chairs,
of
if
that
there's
equation and
32.
then
I don't know
explain
what
how
it
to
makes
solve
it.
it.
You can
So
try
it's
that
kind of
and
a
see.
4-square
'Cause I
thing.
did get the
And she has
connection.
a digital copy of that we could share with you.
I did miss that.
The translation task. That,
Oh, okay. So translate. Well, you've got what you need. So I think y'all did an amazing job. So I need a copy of each of this. So if you can put your name on that. Are y'all good? So what we're going to do is go back in our classroom and use these next steps. And then before the 29th, you're going to do this task again. And hopefully we see how these kiddos have moved with your excellent instruction. Okay? Does that make sense? So you'll teach it, teach your little hearts out, and then give this back to the kids closer to time after you've taught it and bring it back just like you did today. And we'll talk about that and yeah, go from there.